So there is more awareness being created about big tech and how it is possible to get into them. We have stories like Shafiqa Iqbal, who hailed from Sadiqabad but still managed to get a job at Google as a data engineer. So today I've decided to share my own story as well of how I went from a student in Pakistan to an engineer at Google. But before we start this video, I have noticed that a lot of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel. So my journey to Google consists of a bunch of steps and I'll highlight them as I go along with this video. So the first step was transitioning from a high school student in Pakistan to an undergrad student at the University of Rochester in the United States. A lot of people tend to underestimate the value of applying abroad and studying abroad, and especially applying to the US, because they think that they'll either go really big or they will just study at a university in Pakistan. So basically students have this mindset that they will either go to Harvard, Stanford, or maybe if they don't get into these universities, they'll just go to Pakistan. But let me tell you this, that the F1 student visa which you get when you get abroad is the main biggest factor which opens to you a lot of opportunities. That visa, basically the F1 visa in the US, is going to let you apply to these top tier tech companies, and it doesn't really matter even if you're coming from an average university, because over there's no college tier culture. Everybody is treated equal, everybody is treated according to their skills and their learnings. Rather, going to the US actually opens to you a wide variety of opportunities. You can't apply directly to these companies because of visa and sponsorship issues. So I went down this path and chose the University of Rochester for myself, even though nobody had even heard of it, and my relatives thought that it was present in the UK. I know that's a bummer, because apparently there's even a Rochester in the UK. Now, a lot of people going to universities, what they do is that they're going to focus on their CGPA. They're going to focus a lot on their studies because they feel that these top tier companies are looking out for people with good GPAs. And let me tell you this, those double majors or triple majors won't help you to get a job. I don't know about academics or research, maybe it might help with that. But if you're looking to get into a top tier company such as Google, you want to focus on your skill development, your projects and your work experiences, because those are the things that will help you stand out rather than having a 4.0. And let me tell you this, you can even omit your GPA while applying to Google and it won't matter to them, because most companies are past these GPA type of things. They're looking for skilled individuals, so make sure you work on it. So how did I apply this into my university life? While my friends were doing double majors, triple majors, they were overloading courses, I did one major, I underloaded courses, and I actually did a Udemy course to make up for that. So each semester I would learn a skill. For example, my first semester, let's say I took a web development course by Angela, and I learned web development and the fundamentals around it. And after doing that course, I put full stack developer on my LinkedIn profile. So the thing is, during my first year, I did this web development course by Angela, and this course really allowed me to learn full stack development as well as to build and show off some projects while I was doing the course. And they are the same project that still remain on my resume. So you can see that how good these courses are, that the projects that I built during my first year were the projects that actually allowed me to get my job at Google. Another thing that I would love to mention is that during my 4 years at the University of Rochester, I focused at a niche which was web development, and I focused on improving my skills within this niche. I did a lot of research on LinkedIn of what the future positions were requiring, what were the skills that were in demand those days. And for example, I learned React and WebSockets during my first year. So I would advise you not to spread out a lot. Just do your research, maybe like explore a bit. But once you've found your niche, just stay loyal to it and build understanding and concepts in that, because it will help you to stand out. So basically, I spent my first year doing Udemy courses, for example, the React course, the web development bootcamp by Angela, and a WebSocket course. My sophomore year, I lacked awareness and I realized that you actually had to do coding interviews, and that the interviews are going to be technical in nature. So basically, summarizing for you, it doesn't really matter how good of an engineer you are, you'll still have to go through technical rounds where the interview is going to give you a question, a technical coding question, and you'll be required to solve it within the 45 minutes that are given to you. So it really depends on the amount of practice that you have. There are platforms like LeetCode and AlgoExpert that help you to get better at solving these technical questions. Even if you're a good engineer, you can be rusty at these questions because they require practice. There are some patterns that really allow you to solve these questions patterns easily. So the more practice you have, you basically get good grasp of those patterns. So it is a bit of a messed up culture, but it is what it is. So I applied for internships during my second year, but I got no response apart from one company, which was an insurance company. I actually applied through a referral to that company, and I didn't really notice the effect of a referral, but now that I think back, that was the only company that I got a referral for, and I got the interview immediately. I gave the interview and got the position. But unfortunately, it immediately got cancelled because COVID-19 came. But I'm not a Jeffrey, I'm an Adonis, so I didn't have this mindset of getting sad or dejected. Rather, what I did was that I found a bunch of students who were working at a startup called Bridge Burma at the University of Rochester. I paired up with them, and that was basically my summer internship in between my second and third year. And what that really allowed me to do is that it allowed me to build a fully fledged chatting application using the MERN stack, and I was able to apply the skills that I had learned using React, WebSockets, and web development to build that application. And you can see that my school skill set wasn't being used here. The courses that were taught at the university didn't teach me either of these skills. They just taught me basic coding. So everything that I learned over time manifested into me doing all this work at this startup. So you can see how important skill development is in the long run. So now it was my junior year, and the junior year internship is considered to be the big prize. And so I was doing a lot of lead code at that time. And what I realized was that referrals were super important. Now, I have mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but even if you have to beg for referrals, you should beg for them and don't apply without them. What I personally did was that I had a template message that I would send to about 20 to 30 people in the same company asking them for a referral, and usually someone would reply, because I would like to tell you that there is basically a money incentive in this. If you get hired, the person who referred you basically gets a bonus. So you see, it's a win-win. So my junior year, I hustled, I did lead code. To be very honest, I was in Pakistan during COVID, so I was applying for my internships in the US from Pakistan. I didn't really have a lot of motivation because, I wasn't surrounded by academic setting. So I didn't really do a lot of questions. I did about 100 lead code questions at maximum, and that allowed me to get an internship at Facebook as a front-end engineering intern. Now, I'd just like to point out one thing is that even though I got an internship at Facebook, but I applied to over 150 companies, and Facebook was the only company that I had an offer from. So you can see that this process consists of a lot of rejections, a lot of determination that you have to keep up, of applying to a lot of companies, interviewing a lot. I interviewed, I think, at 10 companies out of the 150, and I got an offer from only one. So you can see that it is a bit of luck. Rejections are going to come your way. You're going to be basically numb to rejections at one point, because there were so many rejections in my inbox that I didn't even really feel bad about it at that point. Moving forward comes the summer between my senior and junior year internship. I'm doing my internship. I'm super excited. I'm putting in the work. Facebook has a bit of a very fast culture. You're required to do a bit more work. So I was putting in a lot of effort. It's very competitive as well. And I wanted to get a return offer, because imagine that if I did my internship well and the company gives me a return offer that you can work full time for us, and that would basically settle all of my problems, and I would have a tension-free senior year. But that didn't really happen because I didn't really get the return offer. To be very honest, I was devastated at that point. That was basically like an emotional wreckage for me, because my manager had told me that I had done really well before I got the decision of not getting my return offer. I had a lot of expectations that I will get the return offer, that I won't need to interview at companies again, but maybe things happen for the better, but I didn't really realize it at that point of time. So basically I bought AlgoExpert at that time, and because why I bought it was that it had 160 questions, and I thought that lead code really doesn't give you a clear-cut goal. You're really confused on which questions to do and which not to do. I thought by buying AlgoExpert, I would maybe dedicate 2 months of it to those 160 questions, and maybe I'll improve in my technical interviewing skills. I think that was a good decision, because AlgoExpert is a good platform. I made a video comparing AlgoExpert and LeetCode, so you can go watch that as well. But otherwise, I think a really great decision that I made was that apart from really getting referrals for every company, I also interviewed at all companies. I didn't really care about the stature or the status of the company. I applied to smaller startups as well as big companies. What that really did was for me is that it allowed me to do more interviews, and the more interviews that I did, the better I became at it. And it really showed off when I interviewed at Amazon, Adobe and Google, because I had offers from Amazon, Adobe and as well as Google. So basically my Google interviews, I went over it in another separate video. You can go watch that experience as well. So in summary, I was able to crack the interview. I got my software engineering job. So that is basically the journey that it took for me to get at Google. I hope that you found this video to be insightful and that you can learn something from my journey. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and see you guys in the next video.